Welcome to Unity Inspired Living. Our community began in 1989 as a small worldwide Unity book study group, and we've continued the momentum as an ever-evolving spiritual community. Each Sunday, you will find dynamic thought leaders delivering inspiring messages and talented musicians sharing sound healing through their melody. Here, we embrace ancient spiritual traditions, universal truths, and emerging wisdom. Let's check out this Sunday message. We're so grateful you've joined us. Happy Sunday, Divine Sparks of Light. My name is Amy Van Ling, and I am in loving leadership here as the spiritual director of this phenomenal community, if I do say so myself. We are Unity Inspired Living, and we invite all people to come in and explore your spiritual path, your life path, to share your journey with others who care. And as we embrace this new month, our theme for February is being the light. And we realize here that the light we seek is actually the light we already are. It's within us. And when we keep this in mind throughout our life is not just something that we're like enduring and trudging through. It can be lived in joy and with a fullness when we live in that awareness of the presence. Our theme for the year is living in the presence, the unfolding mystery. So when we live in the presence, we can allow that unfolding mystery, and our inner light becomes that lighthouse, that beacon, right? And then we can radiate this to others, and that excites us around here. So we align with this truth and we illuminate our own path, but also the path for other people. And that's what we like to do around here. We like to show the presence of spirit and know that that is a guiding light for us always, and empowering us to shine our own light. And that is our theme, being the light. So welcome in, everybody. Thank you for participating with us. It is my great joy to be here with you this morning. I see you, Michael J. Michael J says, Namaste, beloveds. Love surround you. I am grateful for the present moment. Indeed. Kathy is here. She says, good morning. Welcome in, sweet souls. We are so grateful to be here. And it is my extreme delight to welcome back our friend and relationship and wisdom and love expert extraordinaire, Dr. SHANI Robins. He is a peaceful, joyful, loving presence in the world, and in so many ways he shines his light for so many, and we're blessed to welcome you back. Thank you for your yes to be with us this morning. Today's message is love and wisdom, beacons of light for each other. Yay, it's juicy. It's always juicy when Shawnee's here, though, because he's always here on like the Valentine's week too. So it's just a juicy week anyway, and then we just add the juicier to the juicy week. So there will be a workshop today, and it's a Q&A, so a deeper dive into this topic, love and wisdom, beacons of light for each other. So come on in. I will drop the Zoom link in the live stream chat. It's also on our webpage, unityinspiredliving.org. You'll see a picture of Harold and Shawnee, and then the link into the workshop. So come in and join us, and share the link with anybody, because this workshop, I have a feeling, would be of interest to many people. So share. We love to share the love. Thank you, Shawnee. As always, so grateful we are for you and for this time together this morning. And we are so grateful, so appreciative that Harold gave us a yes. He is a busy man. He has such a schedule with his music all over the place. So thank you, Harold Payne, for being back here with us this morning. You are a gift, sharing your essence, your joy, your soul through your musical gift. We bless us, and we're so grateful for your willingness to Zoom in with us this morning and share your time and energy and love. Thank you for what you're bringing to us today. And we have, last but not least, the beautiful, kind-hearted, tender-spirited Jennifer Simpson with us. She is here sharing her essence. She's uplifting us with an inspirational reading, community announcements, and a prayer of plenitude this morning. And we are so grateful for you, Jennifer. Thank you for saying yes and being here. and always giving me the cue when we go online because Jennifer sees the light before I do. So very important part of the morning. Thank you, beings of brilliance on the screen, and those of you tuning in. You are brilliant lights as well, and we are co-creating this space, and that is very exciting for us here at Unity Inspired Living. So thank you for being here. We are going to activate and enliven our mission statement, and so I invite you to do whatever it is you do when you center in and become present and just feel into the essence of the moment. So that might be placing your hand on your heart or whatever it is that centers you, a breath, a candle. Our mission here at Unity Inspired Living is fostering love and wisdom, inspiring transformation, offering compassionate outreach, and embracing unity. And we're so grateful to be on this journey together. Um, it's all of our hearts with the same intention that is so magnifies and multiplies all the goodness, greatness, and love. So thank you for you and your yes to being here. I'm going to hand the screen over to Harold now. He has our opening song. We call this our community song. We like to invite you into this song to sing along, to just get the energy flowing in your body. So thank you, Harold, for being here. And I'm going to hand the screen over to you now.
Something wonderful is happening to me right here, right now. In fact, I'm gonna say it again. Something wonderful, oh, something wonderful is happening to me right here, right now. I can feel it in my body. My body, in my soul. I can feel it in my soul, in my heart. I can feel it in my heart, and it won't let go. Oh, something wonderful is happening to me right here, right now. Oh, something wonderful. Happening to me right here, right now. I can feel it in my body. I can feel it in my soul. Feel it in my heart. Won't let go. Oh, something wonderful. Something wonderful is happening to me right here, right now. Whoa, something wonderful is happening to me right here, right now. All this love inside, we can let it shine. Something wonderful is happening to me right here, right now. It's a reggae, not a bachata, but hey, something wonderful. Aye, something wonderful is happening to me right here, right now. Big finish. Something wonderful.
Woo! Okay, well, we were talking dance before we went live. We'll take any music, reggae, bachata. We can dance to all of it. So thank you, Harold. That was wonderful. That was great energy. That opened us up with such, yay. We have lots of love coming through the live stream for that song and for you. Thank you. I'm going to hand the screen over to our beloved Jennifer now. She has a lot of things for us. Thank you, sweetheart.
Thank you. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Harold. That was so fun. And yes, something wonderful is happening right now. Good morning. Happy Sunday to everyone. And we are starting off with just a few announcements. And so be sure to stay for Shani's workshop, which is going to be, as Amy mentioned, a Q&A on love and wisdom as beacons of light for each other. And you can reach that through our website, which is www.unityinspiredliving.org. And that's where you'll find the link to join in, and all are welcome. Next, be sure to mark your calendar for this coming Saturday, February 15th, when we will all meet at Gayla Altoff's home in Discovery Bay for our community circle and potluck. Check our website or your directory for her address. We will be digging deeper into our February theme of being the light. All are welcome, and please arrive by 11 o'clock for the circle. Next, please save the date March 2nd, 2025 for our in-person service and our annual membership meeting. The annual meeting will be held directly after the service from 11:30 to 12:30 and will be followed by a light lunch in the West Island Room at the Antioch Community Center. So we look forward to everyone joining us for this very special meeting, this very special service where Amy will be there and she will be our speaker. So come one, come all. And we are asking all to complete the new membership forms, which can be found on our website. Please print it out if you haven't already and fill it in and bring it to our third Saturday community circle of Saturday, February 15th at Gala's. You can also just answer the questions on a Word doc and email it to Amy Van Ling at unityinspiredliving.org. Or you can take a picture of your responses and email it to Amy. And in addition to the very important membership form, we are asking for your feedback in our community engagement survey. So if you haven't already filled that out, we really appreciate you taking the time to do that. And so that is also available on our website. So please return it to us in person on February 15th, or use the same method of return as you are doing for the membership form. You can also find the survey on our website at www.unityinspiredliving.org. So we so appreciate your feedback and look forward to receiving it. Thank you so much. Do you have a little time during the month to connect with those in our community who would love a visit or a phone call? We are looking for a team leader and members for our Compassionate Outreach Committee. So please consider this very gratifying opportunity for service and connection with those in our community. Please contact Nancy or Jan. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to all of that. And now we are moving on to our inspirational reading, which is from Daily Word. And the word is light. The light of God within me shines brightly. No matter the amount of darkness that surrounds me, the illumination that comes from the light of God within me shines brightly. This awareness blesses me and helps me maintain my perspective about the shifting state of the world and the changeless nature of God. Just as certain times of year are darker than others, certain times of life are dark, while others are lighter. Yet the light of God is eternal and unchanging. I place my attention on the light of God, which shines brightly within me. On my darker days, it is the light that sustains me. During easier times, I shine my inner light into the world and illuminate the way for others. And from 1 John 1:5, this is the message we have heard from him and proclaim to you, that God is light, and in him there is no darkness at all. And as Amy likes to say to all of us quite often, shine on, bright ones.
I do like to say that every Sunday. And you can't hear it enough. So thank you, Jennifer. We appreciate you and everything you bring to us. You are an angel of light. Mwah. I'm going to hand the screen back over to Harold now. He has some more musical magic for us. Thank you, Harold.
Well, I just changed the song at the last minute because of what she just said. So
Perfect.
uh, I have something with love in it. I had a dream, vision. I woke up singing in the middle of the night, 'cause the world had finally got it right. It's got nothing to do with history, or which side has lost or won, but it's got everything, everything to do with love. When you hear a voice calling somewhere inside you, saying you're not alone, and the music fills your heart with hope. It's got nothing to do with boundaries, or thinking that you got to be tough. It's got everything, everything to do with love. It's got everything, everything to do with love. With our differences behind us, you know the world looks new. Maybe something as simple as kindness can see us through. Ooh, well, it takes as long as it takes, and we know it. When the moment is right, I hear somebody singing in the morning light. But there's so much hope to hold on to, and so many songs to be sung. And it's got everything, everything to do with love. It's got everything, everything to do with love. Everything. Ooh, everything, everything to do with love. I had a dream, a vision. I woke up singing in the middle of the night, 'cause the world had finally got it right. There's so much hope to hold on to, and so many songs to be sung. It's got everything, everything to do with love. Oh yeah, it's got everything, everything to do with love. Especially on Valentine's week. Yeah, it's got everything, everything to do with love. It's one I wrote with Freebo and Jan Garrett and J.D. Martin.
Nice. Okay, there's your answer, Carol. She was asking about the song.
Uh-huh.
Harold is very special. He also often just makes up songs right on the spot, impromptu. And one of my favorites was one time when I had my granddaughter with me. It was before we went live, and she was sitting on my lap, and you made this whole song about Athena. Weren't recording it, but it was wonderful. So thank you for the gift that you share with us. We are very grateful. It's a beautiful song.
My pleasure.
And thank you for pivoting. It's a testament to what we're talking about here. When we're really living in the present moment, we're able to know then and feel that unfolding mystery, like, oh, I'm going to go here and instead of there. I that was going to be the plan, but this is what is feeling like what wants to be shared. And that's really important to living in the present. So thank you very much, Harold. We appreciate you being an example of that for us today. I'm going to hand the screen back over to Jennifer. She has our prayer of plenitude and abundance and all the good things for us this morning. Thank you, sweet one.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Harold. Yes. Love, love, love. Everything has to do with love. And this is our opportunity to go deeper into that feeling of love and remember how the prosperous being that we really are. And so let's take a nice full breath to awaken that remembering of that state that we own, that is our birthright. And so take in that breath of life and let it fill you up. And as you exhale, releasing anything that does not serve you, just letting it all go and allowing yourself to drop even deeper into the truth of who you are. I invite you to join me now as we move into a space of oneness with spirit. We quiet our minds and open to the great realization of an abundant universe. We connect with an inner stillness that is grounded in the divine flow of giving and receiving. We practice gratitude for all that life gives us and accept there is more coming our way. We align and operate our divine nature to freely give from a compassionate heart to ourselves and others, assured we are never void. We set our intention to engage in right action that attracts opportunities to prosper. And we are each a very grateful spirit expanding in this human life. We're gratefully succeeding and stepping forward into greater good. And so it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. And so it is. I affirm this. Thank you for the essence you bring to us. I'm going to hand the screen back over to Harold. He has our final song for us this morning. Thank you,
Uh,
Harold.
I'm doing a double pivot based upon what she said. So this is one I wrote with Faith Rivera.
Perfect.
There's a burning feeling in the bottom of your soul that only your heart understands. Everybody's got a little love inside to give away. All you really need is a chance. Time is wasted. You don't have to wait another minute to let your dreams take you to the limit. Shine on, shine on. Open up and let your light shine on. Oh, shine on, yeah. Shine on. Open up and let your light shine on. Even if you never had a moment in your life where you were free enough to let yourself go, it's okay to take a little leap of faith sometime, but how will you ever know? The world is waiting for you to share the gifts that you've been given. It's never too late for a new beginning. Shine on, shine on. Open up and let your light shine on. Oh, shine on, yeah. Shine on. Open up and let your light shine on, yeah. Open up and let your light shine on. You can time is wasted. You don't have to wait another minute. So let your dreams take you to the limit. Shine on, just like Amy said. Open up and let your light shine on. Oh, shine on, yeah. Shine on. Open up and let your light shine on. Let it shine now. Open up and let your light shine on. Open up now. Open up and let your light shine on. Open up that Valentine heart. Open up and let your light shine on.
Oh, that was a perfect way to close out this opening part of our morning. Thank you, Harold. I love that song. I love the energy you brought to us. We appreciate you so much. Thank you both, Harold and Jennifer, for bringing your precious souls to us, your deeply generous, loving souls, and sharing all that you have with us and bringing the joy to us and to the world. Thank you, thank you. Harold can be found on Facebook. You're still doing the Tuesday song.
Two Song Tuesday at 5:30 Pacific time. Yes.
Yes, you can depend on that, and I love when I catch that. It's so great to know that you're always there doing that. And it's haroldpaynemusic.com to know more, learn more, and find more about Harold. So thank you, Harold, for saying yes to us. Thank you, Jennifer, for saying yes to us. We love and appreciate you both. Thank you for tuning in and starting our morning with such a high vibration. We're grateful. We'll see you on
Pleasure.
this end
Yes. All right.
of the technology. Yay! Thank you, Dr. Shani Robbins, for
Mhm.
being with us. We are so grateful to have you in our presence, in our hearts. We appreciate you. We appreciate your yes to us and for always bringing us the most insightful, wise, divine, loving message. For those of you who are just getting to know Dr. Shani Robbins, I'm going to tell you a little about him. Tony Robbins, PhD, pioneered the field of wisdom therapy in 1998. He is a licensed psychologist by the California Board of Psychology and is the founder and director of the Wisdom Therapy Institute since 2000. He is an instructor at Stanford University Medical School's Health Improvement and Be Well programs and the director of clinical training at Sophia University. Dr. Robbins received his BA in psychology and philosophy from UCLA in 1989, his master's and PhD in cognitive experimental psychology. That must have been a lot. Just saying.
That's awesome.
From UC Santa Barbara in 1996, completed a 2-year National Institute of Mental Health postdoc at UC Irvine in 1999 and a PhD respecialization in clinical psychology in 2002. He has published and given numerous clinical workshops, invited talks, scientific conference presentations, and corporate consultations nationally and internationally on wisdom therapy and its relationships to cognition, emotions, stress reduction, relationships, workplace effectiveness, coping, emotional intelligence, performance, and organizational consulting. Whew. He is a member of the American Psychological Association, the California Psychological Association, and has won many honors and awards. Well deserved. In his spare time, Shawnee plays racquetball, chess, go, rollerblades, salsa dances. How I forgot that, I don't know. Runs, marathons, and watches sunrises. And we are so blessed to have you with us. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to pray us in and then hand the screen right over for our talk this morning, which no doubt is going to be rich and full. So let's just take a minute to center into this moment, ground into our being, our light, knowing that we are the light of the world. Stepping into the sacred space, opening our hearts to the divine presence, the mystery that is unfolding within us and through us. We affirm that the light of spirit shines brightly in every thought and word and action, guiding us to embody love and peace. We bless Shawnee with gratitude, covering him in light and lifting him in love and our appreciation. With our hearts wide open, we receive the inspired message that he is sharing with us today. And in grace and love and gratitude, we release this prayer, knowing that all is well and love abounds. And so it is. Ashe, Amen, Namaste. Thank you, Dr. Shani Robbins. We are grateful for you.
You. It's wonderful to be here. I appreciate always the kind invitation and the opportunity to share ideas and have fun together around all of this. And in the many years we've been doing this, the one small difference between this one and the many other talks over many years is that, as you know, a few months ago I got married. So it's first marriage, hopefully first and only marriage. And so what makes this an opportunity is on the heels of that. So after 5+ decades of thinking and talking about these things, being immersed in that process was interesting. So as you know, I like to start out with some jokes. And so I thought marriage jokes might be a fun way to start, because what we're talking about today is what is a skillful version of love that's a wisdom-based love, wisdom informed, wisdom serving as a beacon of light for love, versus some of the jokes that are pretty common about love and marriage are what is the slightly or even dramatically less skilled version. And so it may be unskilled, but it's still pretty funny. So we'll start us off with that. Things like, marriage isn't for everybody. For men, for instance, or marriages are made in heaven. Then again, so are thunder, lightning, tornadoes, and hail. Or I always wanted to marry Mrs. Wright, but I don't know. I didn't know her first name was Always. So this is, you get a lot of. I have a lot of clients in clinical practice, men and women, and complain about large and you hear these things. Another fun one I heard from a client: arguing with spouses is all like trying to read the terms of use internet. In the end, you just give up and say, "I agree." But some of these things, it's not. It doesn't have to be, but it's very common, and that's partly what makes the jokes funny. um, how in what way are the wisdom skills practiced? um, like, for example, if we don't even know ourselves well and we're trying to coordinate with another human being with a lot of intimacy, then we not only give both ourselves and the other person mixed messages. And of course there's a joke on that too. So a son asks his father, what's it like to be married? And so the father says, leave me alone. And when the son does, the father says, why are you ignoring me? So that's just, you know, experiential version. And of course, it's completely reciprocal. It goes in both directions. There's, uh, in lots of ways, it's almost gender neutral. That it's not a matter of gender. It's not a matter of who does what or when. Although I have to say that, men generally need a little bit more help in these things, just out of lack of practice of talking about how they feel, and especially in our culture. But to flip that around, as cynical as some of these things are, in the unskilled version, there's ways of looking at this that can be inspiring. That's what I want to transition to, and then we'll see where we go from there. There's a wonderful set of descriptions that I put together, different parts in different places, but it reads something along these lines: that love is a work of art, a canvas upon which two people can paint with the colors of intimacy, openness, kindness, and courage. Every thought, every word, every touch is a brushstroke that creates beauty to be cherished, respected, and honored. The canvas is open to anything. The painting is only limited by imagination, ambition, and skill. Anything can be co-created together. The opportunity to share love and together create that art of thought and emotion needs to be revered. Every moment that's shared, we can mindfully be present to it with gratitude. To every conversation, we can bring curiosity and humility. We can do more than talk together, we can sing together with the harmony of wisdom. Every kiss given and received can be enjoyed as if it were the first, with the same passion as if it were the last. So just to sit with that for a moment, and this a while back we did a talk also during Valentine's Day where we quoted the excerpt from Corinthians, love is patient, love is kind, it's not jealous, and so on. And we took it apart, each phrase, what would it take to do that? So using this theme as a metaphor of love is a work of art, it's a blank canvas. It's completely open to what we bring to it. If we bring conflict to it and selfishness and fear, that's what it'll be. If we bring something else, empathy, compassion, compersion, it'll become that. So wisdom is a beacon for love and vice versa, that there's no better way to gain wisdom than in relationships, in general, love in particular. Some of the key aspects of wisdom are just immediately practiced in relationships, like emotional intelligence, being aware of how I feel, regulating my emotions. If I'm frustrated, for the love of my partner, I will regulate that frustration for a few minutes before expressing something to her or him, right? It's an option we have. And so when we start expressing love and wanting to practice it, there's some obvious ways to do that. Mindfulness helps us do that as well. So if we're mindful, I can observe my frustration before I start talking. I can pause on that for a moment. Love can give me the motivation to do that. So the love is now enhancing my practice of these wisdom skills. So the love creates these tremendous opportunities for gaining wisdom. And the wisdom creates these wonderful skills that are enable us to express love so much more effectively, and a different kind of love. So emotions like empathy, compersion, ego transcendence. Empathy meaning I can feel what the other person's feeling. That's not easy to do, especially if we're in fight flight, if we're fearful and anxious. So empathy being one. Compersion, joy for the other person's joy. This term came out of the polyamory community, but it applies to everyone. Rather than, it's almost the opposite of jealousy. Can I experience joy just literally because you're experiencing joy with no ands or buts with regards to myself? It's total selflessness, at least for a moment. That doesn't mean that the whole relationship needs to be selfless. It's interconnected. So we're expressing each other's needs, but we're doing it in a way where we can go on this continuum of focusing on expressing, being aware of what I need and expressing that more clearly. So being more clear about what I need and expressing that more clearly, and being more clear about what you need and express, and allowing for that space to be expressed more clearly. Empathy, compersion, ego transcendence, they're all part of wisdom. And are there any better places to practice those than in close, intimate relationships? So it's not just what I want and what I need. A lot of times therapy, for example, talks about healthy boundaries and talks about assertiveness. Those are useful skills, all things being equal. But not but, and in addition to those more basic skills, the even more wisdom-oriented skill is not just focusing about what I want and expressing it effectively. It's how are you doing? It's being able to find balance between self-care and empathy and compersion. So, realism, of course, helps all of this because if we have cognitive distortions like uh, cognitive distortions being unrealistic thinking, like all or nothing thinking, catastrophizing, fortune telling, mind reading. We assume things that are simply not true in the world. And when we have these assumptions, like we catastrophize a situation, oh, my boss doesn't like me, or I might get fired, or my partner doesn't love me enough, or they like somebody else more, or we have these fears, and the fears, these unrealistic thoughts give rise to fears, and the fears give rise to conflict, and they prevent these other things we're talking about. It's pretty hard to have a lot of empathy when you're sitting there dreading in fear, because in fear you were closed off. Empathy is this, it's hands open. Empathy is a hug. Fear is curled up in a ball or running away. It's a completely different kind of experience. But some aspects of love, which is, I think, sadly common, is fear being applied to love. And so I wanted to talk about that a little bit and to play a fun song that many of you have probably been exposed to, and to and is a wonderful demonstration of this contrast. What happens when you do have fear, and the fear leads to control issues, because if I'm afraid, I now have to control things to make sure the world isn't devastating, because I'm afraid that it is, that my partner won't do things hurtful because I'm afraid that they will. And so now when anything happens that I don't like, I react to very strongly with anger, and that comes right on the heels of fear. And now I have to control, and I have to own things and say, you're mine, you belong to me, phrases like that, to think in terms of always. I want to always be safe because I don't feel safe. And so there's this kind of selfish kind of love but the selfish love is self-focused. Why is it self-focused? It's coming from fear about all these things. So by working on jettisoning the fears, the anger starts subsiding. And what happens when we don't do that? We hear phrases like, or we see dynamics of, I love you so much, that's why I'm going to yell at you for the next hour or two. That's how much I love you. It's like, really? And then people start getting used to that. And when you get used to it, there's a whole other second layer of dysfunction, which is, well, my last three partners yelled at me a lot, and that was love. And you're not yelling at me, so you must not love me. Brutal. So that's the cycle of all of this dysfunction too, starting from what our parents did and their parents before them. And we watch this in our past relationships, and we watch that. So suddenly when someone very loving and kind comes along, it's boring, because they're not yelling at me and they must not love me enough, because that's what it means. So then people try to get people to be angry to regain that dynamic. So they start doing all sorts of things and asking their partner, yeah, I just hang out with that person. Are you jealous? It's like, no, I'm not jealous. I'm happy for you. Compersion. Really? You're not jealous? You must not love me. Ooh. Right? So you see where all this is going. And we do say things, there's this ownership piece, and we feel threatened, and we get reactive because of it. So there's a song, those of you who have seen Hamilton, one of my favorite songs from that musical is King George singing to the US, "You'll Be Back." And it's a 3-minute piece. It's worth hearing, because all the themes we've just talked about are all in this 3-minute tight, wonderful, clever song. And when you hear it, yes, it's about the American colonies getting away from Britain and declaring independence and the colony in the United States. But if you listen to the lyrics, it sounds a lot like some guy expressing a very dysfunctional love with all the themes we just named. So let me share this, do a shared screen, and then we'll talk about it.
You say the price of my love is not a price that you're willing to pay.
So it's as soon as I heard that, when I saw the play about Declaration of Independence, I thought, what a perfect bridge to relationships, and very dysfunctional relationships that are very commonly dysfunctional along these lines. This would be a parody of that, right? Usually people don't go to those extremes, but when you talk about stalkers, for example, millions of women a year have to file restraining orders. So it actually applies even literally to relationships and things like that. But even in the more moderate version, where people are yelling and arguing together because of love, it's like that's how much I love you. I'm gonna call you names and try to win this argument. The nice mapping of this song also to relationships is the war metaphor of relationships is the most common one. There are dozens. There's the journey metaphor, there's the co-creation metaphor, there's the investment metaphor. I'm giving the best years of my life to this. There's roller coaster ride metaphor. There's a lot of these. Journey is a common one when we say we've come a long way, or when it's not going well, we're spinning our wheels, or we're at a dead end. It all appeals to a journey metaphor. So which metaphor we use matters a lot in the relationship itself. I did my PhD dissertation exactly on this topic, the different metaphors and how it applies to everyday life, particularly in relationships. And I use different metaphors to see if people's decisions about relationships change. And they, not surprisingly, they do dramatically of what you expect. So for example, if you use a war metaphor and you ask people, do you want a prenuptial agreement? Absolutely. I want a prenuptial agreement because you got to protect yourself and you never know and there's danger. That's the kind of things they would say later without any reference to the metaphor. They just bought into it and that's how they thought about it. So 70 to 80% wanted a prenuptial agreement. If you went for a journey metaphor and things were framed in that, and then I asked them, do you want a prenuptial agreement? It went down to 20%, from 80 to 20. And when I asked them why, they said, well, a prenuptial agreement would just be an obstacle in the road, because they embraced the journey metaphor. So how we think about things makes all the difference in the world. And so the fact that this appeals, this war metaphor is now I'm translating it to relationships, captures that. And one of the sad things of this research, unfortunately, was when I didn't have any metaphor, the neutral group, any guesses what metaphor they went with as a default? The war metaphor, out of the dozens. That's how they thought it. So their data, the neutral metaphor data, was identical to the war metaphor data, people. Sad. So in our culture, at least in 20 somethings, the war metaphor is the most dominant. But after doing 25 years of couples counseling, I can tell you that that bears out in my experience clinically as well. And so, but it's doable to change that. But it can't change until we change, right? John Lennon, you want to start a revolution, start it with yourself first. It's Gandhi, be the change you want to see in the world. Michael Jackson, look at the man in the mirror. It's everybody saying the same thing. I want to find that person in the world that'll make me happy. Become the person in the world to be happy. And then you'll happen to stumble onto other people that are doing the same thing. And the two of you are going to be incredibly happy because each of you did that heavy lifting yourselves. Rather than I'm miserable, I'm selfish, I have a lot of cognitive distortions and fears, but let me see if I can find someone who will undo all of that for me. Like, no, it's like I ate donuts and ice cream in front of the TV and chocolate and tiramisu, let me throw that in, for 20 years. I gained 100 pounds. Now let me see if I can find someone who will work out and lose that weight for me. It's like, no, that's our job. It's, in this case, it's physical fitness. In the other case, it's cognitive, spiritual, psychological, emotional fitness, wisdom fitness. And so as we go through and co-create these things, one of the reasons I got married now, I never felt the need to do it. One of the reasons I did it now, well, one was my stepdaughter was having a little bit of a hard time, and she's 14, and those are the years where teens are identifying themselves and questioning things. And to give her a safe space, a safer space, became a nice goal. This was one of the way of doing that too, stability and safety, so she can reduce her fears. I was always afraid, oh, am I going to get married and get stuck with dynamics that are painful? I kept telling her, get over your fears. And then I realized, huh, I had this fear that if I ever get married, it'll be stuck with some dysfunctional dynamics. So I'm asking her to get over her fears, me first. How about doing that by example? And one good example of that is, how about marrying her mom? And so, of course, there was tremendous love. And of course, if her mom wasn't an incredibly wise, kind person, then that wouldn't even be a question. But she is. So the question became, then what am I afraid of then? Is the fear anachronistic? It's no longer relevant. It's a vestigial organ of the past. And so part of that recognition led to that decision. But in general, the broad model is, how do we live with this kind of wisdom and embrace it every day, multiple times a day, such that the wisdom itself informs the practice? We're practicing out of almost a pride of, and of course, our practice gets then can be translated into the relationship. There's a wonderful art by Magritte. Let me share this with you. It's a wonderful painting called The Lovers Two. And you can see there's these sheets between them. And so on the one hand, they're attempting to embrace passion. On the other hand, there's things that are interfering with that passion that keeps the distance. They're still separate from each other in these ways. And in part because of these things we're talking about, the fears and the lack of trust that comes from fears, and then the conflict that comes from that is getting in the way of a much, much more intimate love, a love that has much fewer fears, a love that's not filled with the anger and conflict that often comes from the fears. And all the potential is right there. The canvas is open to us to do that. And if we do that and the other person does that, then the kinds of dynamics we typically see, yes, they may elicit some fun jokes, but they don't. There's a Grand Canyon between us and those kinds of dynamics, and so things like the silent treatment and things like that don't need to be done. The running joke is, I haven't spoken to my wife in 3 months. A friend asks why not, because I don't like to interrupt her. Um, uh, or um, but it's the kinds of things men and women do in relationships where the unskilled version is seemingly so much easier to express, uh, is completely untaps all of this potential. It's like this blank canvas is there, and not only is it not being used in these amazing ways, it's being ignored that it's even there. So it's when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And so it's up to us to do that, to see this blank canvas, to paint on it with humility and mindfulness and emotional intelligence, and dramatically reducing our fears so we can be much more open rather than locked up. We're much less reactive rather than not. And it's, much more not reactive, more loving, much more open. And things like openness, psychology has known for years, openness to experience is highly correlated with positive relationships. Empathy is highly correlated with positive relationships. All that is nice and good. We see that in correlations, but how is that achieved? What are the practices for that? So in talking about it in this way, it merges it all together, multiple literatures where how do we connect fear and anger and conflict with deep relationships and deep love? How do we connect this kinds of wisdom and love, and how they enhance each other? And to encourage people, just like Fred, for example, talks about forgiveness is not just for the other person, you forgive for yourself. And that was a brilliant shift on his part, because a lot of people say, I'm not going to forgive, that person doesn't deserve it. Yeah, even if that's true and that's debatable, you deserve it. Do it for yourself first, and then see what happens from there. And by the way, Fred was the officiant at my wedding, which was a really good decision. He was both very deeply soulful and funny, uh, with a few jabs at me, as you might expect, which I gave him free rein for. He actually asked for permission for that, which I appreciated. But it made the whole ceremony very both deep and very amusing. So, as we talk through that, and the changes in that, give yourself time and energy to practice all of this. Patience. Uh, and Another famous quote is, patience with others is love. Patience with yourself is hope. Patience with God is faith. It's at what level do you want to do all this? Whatever these words mean to different people, different things, but that's okay. The gist of it is clear that there's an ego transcendence that's a common denominator to all of these. And, uh, you know, you and love, people talk about falling in love and finding the person to fall in love. And you fall in love when you're ready, not when you're lonely. You fall in love when you're ready, not when you're lonely. It's a different model. And so rather than looking for the thing or the person or looking desperately for love, look for the growth in yourself every day, in traffic, in arguments. Every conflict you have the ability to take a deep breath. You can do mindful meditations for 5 minutes a day to practice observing rather than reacting. You can wonder how the other person feels every single time at every conflict. And ideally, even without conflict, right? Just keep asking how you feel, introspect around that. What do I want and how do I feel and what are my needs? And how does the other person feel and what do they want and what are their needs? Do that 10 times a day. And the level of empathy goes up dramatically and the level of reactiveness goes down dramatically. So that happens as a consistent pattern. And without doing it, there's this, you would always wonder what was possible. In my last relationship, there was no huge red flags, but it was mostly positive, it was mostly supportive, but that person was not as was not hunger for developmentally moving forward quickly or voraciously. Wonderful human being, but that wasn't her main goal in life, and 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 it wasn't her fault. It's a matter of what we're choosing, all of us. And so, but there's a sense of unactualized potential, and that gets nagging at you when you finally realize it. Even in good relationships, much less bad relationships, which is the majority in terms of conflict and yelling and screaming and name calling. And it's just, what else is possible? There's a wonderful poem called Mr. Mentu. It goes, Mr. Mentu had a partner and his name is Didn't Do. Did you ever chance to meet them? Did they ever call on you? These two fellows live together in a house of never win, and I'm told that it is haunted by the ghost of might have been. Right? It's what is possible way, way beyond what we've experienced or what we're even imagining now. So the encouragement here is to be tremendously ambitious in both wisdom and in love. And in connection and sensuality and sexuality. Mae West in the 1920s, a woman way ahead of her time, said, "Don't confuse sex and love, or you won't enjoy either one." It's a funny joke, but the reality is, if you can merge it all together, sexuality, sensuality, deep love, wisdom, then you enjoy all of them a lot more. And so and to be very patient with ourselves and with each other. Someone also once said, there's a sign that reads, "I'm currently under construction. Thank you for your patience." Um, so there's a humility and a patience that goes along with all this too, and a kindness, self-kindness, self-compassion, and to do the same for others. If we beat ourselves up, we're likely will practice that and we'll extend that courtesy to other people. So self-kindness and give yourself time. A lot of times when we expect immediate results, we're you know we're a work in progress, and even the most ambitious take time. It's a learning curve. It's not going to happen immediately, but it can be much quicker than if we don't practice, because every day does give us the opportunities with traffic, with conflict, with every frustration we have. Remember the old adage, wisdom is what we get when you don't get what you want. And all we have to do, it's not quite as simple as that, but if we just flip that switch and say, okay, I'm now deciding to live a developmentally oriented life where everything is an opportunity to practice. And there's no better, the wisdom skills, mindfulness, emotional intelligence, gratitude, humility, empathy, kindness, compersion. And where is there a better place to practice that than in relationships and love? So that's how they enhance each other. And maybe this is a good place to stop. And thank you for that. And I'll be happy during the workshop to dialogue on any of this.
Thank you, Shani. That was amazing. I want to thank you for your authenticity and your vulnerability and the way you share with us. It's very profound pieces of your life that really tell the story. And like, there's two things I'm thinking that you shared today. Today you were sharing about your stepdaughter, and you said, like to start with ourselves. You're talking about making these wise choices in love. And um, you spoke to how, you were telling her about moving out of fear, and your fear was about being stuck. I'm paraphrasing all this now, being stuck in a dysfunctional dynamic. And that was sort of your fear of why you wanted to avoid committing into a marriage. And then you dove in with complete openness. Um, It's very profound the way you said that. I started with myself. I can't expect and tell somebody else. And I think that this is such a huge piece to our development as human beings. And because I think often, it's sort of like, they need to fix that. They need to do that. What's wrong with them? I was like, well, where can you begin? And I love how you said, I have so many notes now that I can't find what I wrote, but it's something about, we're not married or getting together in a relationship because we're lonely, but because we're in our fullness, and we're ready. We're in the place where we can be a partner. And the second thing was sharing about your past relationship. And I remember this very clearly, and you going through this, and she was wonderful. And I remember when you were telling me about this, life transition and decision. And I remember I was confused, a little confused, like, well, it seems so good, things, there's nothing really like huge that's a problem, right? And I love how you articulated this. You weren't necessarily in this, how did you say it? Like you're ferociously into a growth mindset and developmentally focused and moving forward. And I totally understand that and that place. And if you're with somebody absolutely wonderful and yet you're not in alignment there, that can feel like um what you said is good, not great. And I thought, wow. I mean, it always stuck with me. It's like, wow, what a statement. Something to consider, that is such wisdom in love. because I mean, I've said this before, like love isn't enough. We can love and love and love, but if we're like, I love you, but I'm doing all these things and I'm not meeting you and growth, growing, uh, there's a big miss there. One time we were at an event. This was right before COVID at the Wisdom 2.0 in San Francisco, and we were observing, I think it was Dan Siegel and his wife, and
Mm.
they were having a panel. And I remember after that, I don't remember the word that you used exactly, but I think it was something like they are so skillful, like in their relationship. Do you remember this?
I do.
And I remember thinking the same thing. And it was like some of it you couldn't even like pinpoint, but it was just how I don't know, their interaction was just so smooth and wise. And uh I was sitting here while you were talking, trying to remember being present with your talk with them. Like, what I wish I could remember all the little details, but they were little details.
Yeah, there was a lot of respect for each
Yeah.
other, which is a cornerstone of relationships, respect, as opposed to contempt, which is the
Mm,
number one predictor of conflict and divorce. So there's massive respect between each other. You could see it. When one talked, the other not only gave them a chance to talk, they were very interested in what each other has to say. They oriented towards each other when they talked. That's
yes.
rare. And we're talking decades of marriage here, and they still oriented towards each other in that way, as if I'm about to, I could potentially learn something interesting here when I see the other person, when I'm hearing him, her, or him talk. Um, so yeah, that really struck me as a rare thing. I rarely, um, I had been cynical in the past about how rare this was, and Fred once actually said, there's a couple in New York. Fred and I have given workshops in New York together for 15 years,
Mm,
and once or twice a year, and we would fly out there and do the workshop for a day, fly back, and said, there's a couple in New York you have to talk to. They're going to be your counterexample to marriage and relationships. So I would love to see that data by meeting this couple. And so we did the workshop, and that evening we met with this couple. They walked in, 25 years married. They walked in holding hands,
mm,
smiling. As we sat down, I said, I got to tell you, I'm very happy to meet you. Fred has been talking about you, uh, and each time one of them talked, the other oriented in their direction. They would look at each other, not just with tolerance, with genuine interest,
yeah.
appreciation, respect, even inspiration in what the other one is saying, pride in
Mm,
who the other person is. It was just amazing to watch. And the love that existed was integrated into all that. It was an integral part of that. It was informed
mm,
by that as well. And so not only was there no interrupting, not only no contradicting each other in terms
mm,
of putting each other down or enjoying putting each other down, or it was a Grand Canyon away from all of them. And it's
mhm,
not like they agreed on everything. They said, actually, is that true? Because and the other one said, oh, and you may be right. And the disagreement took that form. It took the form of curiosity and mutual learning rather than yelling or insulting, or it was none of that. And
mhm,
after 2 hours of that, I said, I got to tell you that everything Fred said, is absolutely right. You guys are an inspiration to what relationships can be. My optimism just went up 5 notches in terms of what's
mm,
possible in long
mm,
term. And they smiled, laughed, said, "Yeah, we get that a lot from our friends and stuff." And but honestly, we're just kind of doing our thing, and it doesn't. We don't even understand why not everyone does this. And so the encouragement is that everyone can paint a blank canvas,
mhm,
um, or not, or paint or do something else. Not only not paint on it, but destroy it or ignore it, or
mm,
practice things that are just unpleasant. Instead of practicing love, we can practice anger. Instead of practicing empathy
mm,
and compersion, we can practice selfishness. And so we can get good at those things. And we do. We get good at anger and selfishness. When I do anger management and a person says, I don't know what to do. I don't know how this happened. And I asked, how many times have you been angry in your life? And they're kind of daunted by the question, right? It's a weird question to ask. I mean, start doing the math. 3 times a day, say, at traffic, or somebody says something we don't like. it's probably more than three a day average, but let's say three a day, so a year, 365 days, about 1,000 a year over 30, 40 years. That's 40, 50,000 times we practice something. When you practice something 50,000 times, you get good at it. So
Mm,
50,000
yeah.
times fear, 50,000 times anger, 50,000 times conflict, we become
Mm,
very fluent in those processes, and the brain believes they're necessary because we practice it. But if we do the
makes sense.
alternative, if and it doesn't take 50,000, just a few hundred times of practicing empathy, kindness, compersion, emotional intelligence, within a few hundred times, it it completely replaces the default setting of fear and
Mm.
anger and conflict.
I
Uh,
like that that you speak to that, because I think sometimes people put this like, oh, that seems so daunting. That seems like way down the road. Can I ever get there? And it's like you can, and it doesn't have to take long if you just decide. And you talk a lot about mindfulness, and so bringing it back to that. Okay, well, okay, so I feel anger coming up, but I don't have to go down that path, right? I can just say, oh, that's what's really underneath this is whatever, and be mindful and really make a choice
yeah,
in another
absolutely. and and
direction.
and appreciate that phrasing because it is completely open to anyone. I mean, there are some people that are inherently more talented, like Michael Jordan's heart has a genetic predisposition to pump more blood than the average heart. So can he be a better athlete? Sure, that genetic predisposition helps.
Mm,
But he was on a court at 5 a.m. every day for decades. So
mm,
it wasn't that. It was massive, massive amount of hard work. One of my pet peeves is when people point to saints and say, "Well, that person is a saint. I can't, Matt. That's
mm.
that's not my thing. That's I'll 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 herald them and put them on a pedestal, but that's not." And
I
to me,
can't attain that.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
like
can't do that. It's a way of avoiding the responsibility of practicing.
mhm,
So does why is Mother Teresa so compassionate? She practiced a lot. And
mm,
you can think about all religious leaders in history, whatever the religion, whatever people's religious or spiritual beliefs are, whether it's Jesus, Moses, Muhammad, anyone that has achieved a lot in any culture and any point in history, that individual for years talked about and practiced empathy, compassion, emotional intelligence, ego transcendence. If any of
mm.
us do this, I'm not saying we'll all become saints or Mother Teresa's or some of these spiritual, maybe they had other abilities too, who knows, but we would get a help. We would, the other quote is, uh, my grandmother told me to jump and reach for the moon, and when I jump I can't quite get to the moon, but at least I get off the ground.
Mm.
So who knows how far we can go, but if we don't even try and we don't have a beacon of light that points us in
Mhm.
that direction and say this is
Mhm.
possible with practice. And even psychologists don't do that. Why? Because they go home and argue with their spouses and so on. So they're
It
not
takes
ambitious enough.
effort
Yeah.
to learn. I mean, most of us didn't weren't modeled, how to even communicate, let alone have a intimate partnership that is sustaining and fulfilling and uh, a place of gratitude and openness and and not selfishness, right? And so that's why, it's so important. Like I love the Gottmans and I love their whole love lab and everything that they've done. And there's places we can learn and what you teach and going into like just some of those distortions, just being able to recognize some pieces about psychology, like, oh, I'm catastrophic thinking right now, or one of the distortions, or even knowing, I don't know, what do you say about knowing about like attachment theory? And there's so many pieces to know about relationship and partners and relating with, any relationships really, the love
Yeah.
languages, all the things. What are your
Yeah,
thoughts?
absolutely. And things like attachment, which psychology has described very well and effectively for decades, namely secure versus insecure attachment styles. But what it hasn't been very good at is bringing a high level of ambition to transitioning from insecure to secure attachment style.
Mm,
There's some aiming for that. A lot of therapy, CBT, psychodynamic therapies are aiming for, especially psychodynamic models aiming for secure attachment style, object relations theory. But the ambition is not there to of saying, look, fear is the underpinning of all this. They say that fear, namely, the world is not safe and people are not trustworthy. Those two fears give rise to almost a whole DSM.
Right.
1,300 pages of DSM come down to a lot of it. Certainly the personality disorders, narcissism, borderline personality, that's at the core of those two, but it gives rise to all the anxiety disorders and most of those. So it's the ambition to get rid of most of our fears in life is a severely understated ambition that almost nobody vocalizes, because the people who would vocalize it 5 minutes later, they're going home and they themselves are embracing many of their fears instead
Mm-hmm.
of working on transitioning and maturing past them. We've all had fears and we all have fears,
Yeah.
myself included. But what are we doing on a day to day to practice and mature
Mm-hmm.
to with skills that can help us graduate that stage of development, just like we did at 5 years old, 10, 15, 20.
Mm-hmm.
So we sort of flatten out an asymptote on this practice. And we look at kids, infants and kids, and say, oh, isn't it quaint that they believe there are monsters under the bed and they have tantrums at the supermarket when they can't get their chocolate. But it's not a long trip to most adults and how they behave in everyday life with their own fears. It's just about different things now. And so
Yes.
the ambition here is to not just do anger management or mild fear reduction, anxiety reduction, just to get to functioning levels. It's not to go from -3 to +2. It's to go to +10. It's go
Mm.
from good to great. It's to
That's
get to
right.
the point of the saints and to
Mm.
aim for that. And if we aim for
Yes.
that, we may not, achieve quite as much as they have.
Mm.
It's like Olympic athletes. It's if you look at an Olympic athlete like a gymnast and saying, okay, I'm going to start practicing until I can do that. Not all of us will be able to do that, but if that really is if that's part of our aim to get some version of that, imagine how much more fit all of us would be. It'd be 100 times more. So
Right.
the Olympic
And then
athletes of love, basically, is what we're talking about here. Olympic love versus unfit love.
Yeah, and then also having the discernment, like you did, and say, that I really, this is a value of mine. I want to go from good to great. This is my trajectory. I have these intentions about growth and development, and this is how I want to live. And so maybe, people can find themselves in a relationship where it's like, well, this is not in alignment with that, or and having to assess, well, can we get there, can we practice, or is it something that I have to say is good, not great. And that's enormous, because that evokes fear about, well, this was comfortable, this has been for a long time, I know this, that's the unknown, and all of the things. So uh thank you for being the example, being the light. um
I've had good examples, and it's just
mm,
I'm encouraging everyone to do what I've done, what many have done in terms of just embracing the examples and opportunities. The reason when you say these happen to be my values, the reason they're my values is because I happen to be in a field and have read and have observed others that and noticed that these practices and these kinds of ways of thinking are correlated with a lot of happiness, well-being, health, and the alternative are correlated with a lot of misery and conflict and illness. And so there's something
thank
about,
you for saying that. Yes, that's huge. I feel the same, exactly the same as you. It's so beyond just like, oh, this is comfortable. It's like your well-being, your entire
yeah, there's a
sphere.
psychological, that's right. There's a psychological science around this now. So it's not just to each his own. And I guess it's all subjective. Well, if you want to be happy, healthy, and in good relationships, it's no longer arbitrary. And people say, "Oh, it's all who knows what leads to good relationships." We know now
Hmm.
the psychological science around this, and there's it's just it takes practice. It requires a lot of skill, and the skills take practice. But it's not no longer mysterious, and so
Mm-mm.
it's no longer relegated to mysterious realms. It used to be a lot of spirituality and religious traditions. We talk about empathy, compassion, ego transcendence. Now it's part of psychological science, and so now
Yes.
it's much clearer and doable. And if
Yes.
anybody, so it's doable. It's within reach of all of us, and I encourage everyone to embrace those practices and to pass them on to others. That's very
Yes.
helpful as well. Uh,
Very helpful, very important. So
uh,
much gratitude coming in from everybody. Thank you, Carol, for all the notes. Michael J says, thank you so much. Shared and realized I'm grateful. Um, Carol, thank you. Luinda says, very poignant and wise talk. So many great aspects in creating and maintaining and growing a great and lasting relationship. Shani, thank you for bringing to us loving wisdom. Indeed, Michael's here. Hi, Michael. We all lack complete vision and understand, and hence make judgments at our peril. This is the uneven earth we all live in as humans that can be buffered by kindness. That's beautiful. Thank you. Michael J says it would be exciting being with someone who lives an emotionally intelligent path with self and others. Exciting indeed, and so much more. So we are going to take this conversation into the Q&A. So bring your questions, your comments. I mean, this is the guy, this is the man that you want to ask. Dr. Shani Robbins is amazing and
I appreciate it.
so raw and real, and that's why you touch our hearts and have such an impact, is because of who you are, and we're so grateful for you.
Just
Thank
one
you.
last piece. I do have some help in this practice.
Yes, yes. I forgot about the cat.
So
Tell the story. Yes, tell the story real
yeah,
quick because it's a
so
great story.
we could finish with this anecdote. So
Yes.
my cat has been starting to jump on my desk every time I would work. She'd jump on my desk. She would eat cables from my computer. She would go on my keyboard, and she just would not relent. I was at my wit's end. And if I closed the door, she was outside yelling and screaming to get in. So, and she would do it for minutes or even hours if I kept the door closed. So there was no quick solution. That seemed harsh. So, and then I would open the door, and then she would jump on my desk and start eating wires and things. So I thought, so I started looking at things like having something on my desk that would blow wind in her face, so she would be something aversive, she would go away. I embraced sort of a war metaphor between us. It's like, okay, how can I fight this back?
Mm.
And then 2 days ago, as she was doing some of this, I thought, maybe she just, if I shift for my own self and my own frustration, maybe she just wants to be close, and that's the only way she knows how to do it. So I took this bed from the living room and put it simply on top of my desk. And now this is what she does every day, all day for the last 2 days. And no more eating wires, no more throwing things off the desk. The whole conflict just disappeared overnight. I'm still stunned by it.
You mitigated the anxiousness.
It
Like,
was just, yeah. And, so out of all the things I've ever achieved in life, I think this is in the top three. So that was a wonderful moment and for her, all the things she achieved in life. So she's embracing, you can see she's embracing a much more peaceful existence. And this
you didn't
is
have to spray her with water or put a
her life now.
fan in her face.
She's in tremendous peace, and so am I. And what better metaphor to end with that shifting from the way of thinking that led to all this peace and love between us now.
It's so simple, yet so profound,
Yeah.
right? Going from this war, I wanted to talk about that too, but we'll go into the workshop with all this metaphors. Amazing. Okay, everybody, I'm going to drop the link for the workshop, which is a Q&A, which is an explore shop today in the Facebook live stream chat. It's also on the website, unityinspiredliving.org. Come in there and find us and get ready to dive deep into love and wisdom, beacons of light for each other. Thank you, Dr. Shani Robbins. We love and appreciate you so very much. Your presence is divine. I'm going to close us with the prayer of divine awakening and give us 5 minutes, and then we'll hop into the Zoom link and the Zoom room. So let me just share my screen here with you. And We'll breathe into the prayer of divine awakening. It's a new day, a beautiful day, a new beginning. I embrace this day with new eyes, an open heart, and expansive mind. I choose my vibrational frequency deliberately and consciously harmonizing with life's events. I am receptive to source energy, divine guidance, and wisdom available to me at all times. I commit to serve unconditional love fully and completely. I move forward in a state of appreciation, an extension of the one magnificent power and presence. I am sovereign, whole, and free, claiming dominion over my life as I go in peace and awake to my divinity. And so it is. Shine on, bright ones. I love you all dearly. Blessings. Thank you, Shani. Everybody, 5 minutes in the Zoom room. It's a date. Bye,
Right.
everybody. Shine